Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, as we have 2 series left to determine who is going to be our final member going to the group stage from today. But of course, while we have 2 series going on, we will have one of them being covered by Rotterdam currently, or at least having his eyes in the game. So we have Eleza versus Sort of. How's it going so far, Rotterdam?
It's pretty fun ZVZ on Belgian Vestige, so let's just jump into my screen real quick so I can tell you guys what has been happening so far. But
Finally, some good observing.
I've been working on it. You know, I like to pride myself on my observing skills. Look at this zoom. Look at this zoom. Fonka's taking notes right now. It's like, God, Roddy is good, isn't he? No, it's a very even game. I mean, both players going up to 4 bases. Pretty much the same amount of links have died, same amount of drones have died. So far, between Laser and Sort of, it's incredibly close, and it will truly come down to 1 or 2 big engagements. You could give a minor edge to Laser, but I don't think it's big enough that he can really push the issue right now. Yep. So I think we're looking at a maxed out Roach Raptor battle.
By the way, just saying.
That's nothing! So I'll let you guys know how it goes. I'll keep a close eye on it.
Thank you very much, Rotterdam. Of course, now we have our next series that's to come here on the stream. PiLiPiLi going up against Dayshi. What are we thinking about this one, boys? PiLiPiLi had a bit of a harder time against Uthermal in his previous series, but overall, how's Dayshi been looking so far? What do you think?
I think he looked alright. Historically, he struggled against Protoss, but that's mostly been against super solid Protosses in the late game. So I feel like against PiLiPiLi, stylistically, he might be able to do very well. It really depends on the early game. I feel like whoever gets ahead in the early game is going to be able to do well. Like PiLiPiLi, stylistically also, like he shows some good things in his earlier matchup. Yeah. Supposedly, Dayshi doesn't get caught off guard and wins, but you never know.
Pig, thoughts before we head to the game?
You know, it's a dynamic matchup. Dayshi, not necessarily the most absolutely consistent Terran. He is someone who plays a little bit slower than some other Terrans, so he's happy to kind of plod along at a regular pace. Pili is a guy who, in that early game, can play blazingly fast and can pick a player apart a little bit. So I do see opportunities for both players. I'm 50-50 on the result.
Roddy?
I would love to see Pili do well here again, but I think we saw against Uthermal that he is going to have a hard time against some of these top Euro Terrans, and Dayshi has really been putting in the work lately.
Right.
There were times where Dayshi was sitting at home and he'd play 2 hours of StarCraft and 7 hours of Overwatch. Right now it's reversed. He's really grinding a lot of StarCraft. I personally think Dayshi is going to be a tiny bit too good for Pili, but I hope I'm wrong, because I'd love to see another North American do well here.
There he was, the Darth Billy.
Darth Pilius, indeed. All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen, as we head over to Vintage Tastosis to bring you the next series.
What's up, guys? We are back together again, Artosis. I missed you.
Well, I've been with you all day, really, but yeah, as far as casting goes, Vintage Tastosis, I would say from our jet lag and how late it is at this point, we're one of those years where it didn't rain right and like the wine has to be really cheap, you know what I mean? But excited
this might
for
be
this
more
next
like
match.
diet Tastosis at this point in time with how long this day's been going. But this match coming up here should be pretty good. It should be pretty close, so definitely tell your friends out there to join us on the stream as we get this game going. In the bottom left, in the red, he is Dayshi. And in the bottom right, in the blue, it's PiLiPiLi. Know the power of dogs.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if I actually had a Darth Vader voice?
Yeah.
And I cast it the whole time, but the whole time you're just even when I'm not talking, you're talking. It's like
Wow. And then you could maybe do the lightsaber sounds as well. Wow. Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
I'm excited to see how this game's going to turn out. I do think this is a fairly even match. It really could go either way.
Yeah. You know, as they were talking about at the desk, I guess Dayshi is practicing pretty hard right now. We'll see how he does, though, because PiLiPiLi is opening very aggressively here, Tasis. 1 base, should be seeing probably a Zealot, a Mothership Core, an Oracle, all that good stuff.
All right. These two guys going at it in a best of 3. keep in mind these players have been playing all day here. This is a real marathon of a tournament. They are going to have some incredible stamina to get deeper and deeper into a tournament that's this huge. And this is a lot of fun for me personally to cast an event like this, because they don't have these as much anymore, especially for what you and I are used to doing in Korea, where we have two guys that have like a week to prep for one very specific match. This is really different because you kind of get to see the overall most well-rounded, solid player who can just grind through that many opposing nerds.
Yeah, like, well, we'll have a lot of like weekend type tournaments, I guess, as we call it sometimes. To have such a big open bracket really has added like a lot of spice into this tournament already. I've definitely been enjoying it quite a bit. And very fun to see some of these little upsets happen, like PiLiPiLi taking down Sort of. That's a very strong victory for him, which has propelled him into this match. But he has got to do better than he did against Uthermal.
So we do have Dayshi checking around for a hidden probe. The probe is in fact hidden right over here, and it looks like he will be able to spot that and take this probe out before it's able to do anything or gather any more intel. So good job there by Dayshi.
I can't even stress how important it is that he found that. If you don't find that, you lose your wall in 100%. Like, this build will kill, it'll make you lift your natural command center, it'll kill both the depots, it'll kill the reactor, and you'll probably lose some SCVs and Marines too. But, you know, that was a great find.
So coming in here now, he's taking out the initial Marines. Two more about to pop out. It looks like he may be able to deny that SCV that was making the starport over there. Meanwhile, the Adepts come in with continued pressure and a nice escape there by the Mothership Core. The Mother Core.
And, you know, the fact that he killed the Reaper during all that is kind of, you know, that's frosting on top. That's, like, really nice. Can't really scout anymore. He probably assumes, you know, that there would be an Oracle on the way, because this is just like the way that this build generally goes. And with the Widow Mines on the way, I think Dayshi should be able to block this without too much trouble.
So with PiLiPiLi having a second base set up over here, we're going to see that small gateway explosion begin to occur. Now, I don't know how far he's going to try to push these Adepts, but with a Widow Mine drop inbound here, this could be problematic. Especially if the Oracle does not intercept it. Looks like they should be on about.
Yeah,
they're on the same route there. So he knows, and that triggers the boost there from the medevac to get over there as quickly as possible.
Well, he doesn't have another Widow Mine at the moment. He has a bunch of Marines in his main base, so that definitely could help out. And in fact, oh, that's not good.
Oh, good connect there. Widow Mine now being dropped. He might just go for the free probe kill. Try to pick this up and drop elsewhere. Oh, you know what? Whoa, that was not the way it was supposed to go down, guys.
Yeah.
These Adepts now getting gunned down. This is kind of getting to be a down and dirty game where both these guys are taking some serious blows on either side.
But right now I'm looking at this, and I am really liking where Dayshi's at. You know, to get 3 kills with that when he already saw it coming. The Oracle really hasn't done anything. He stopped the Mothership Core rush. The 3 Adepts that shaded in didn't really kill that many SCVs or anything. So far, this is really looking pretty strong overall for Dayshi as an opener.
Dayshi now coming out with a little bit of pressure. PiLiPiLi may have a tricky time taking that third Nexus. Obviously, the Oracles can still act as a threat and be used as a pin to keep the Terran from leaving, but Protoss might be spread a little bit thin here. There's already been a little bit of abuse coming from the Terran that PiLiPiLi had, it seems like, a hard time dealing with.
Yeah, he's got to be very careful about that. Oh, if he loses right now in Oracle, that would be huge. There is a Viking out trying to push him away a little bit.
Okay, nice tag there on the Viking. Unfortunately, he was not able to scoot that up into the Widow Mine. And we now have a drop over here in the upper right. The Nexus taking heavy fire.
Oh, that's so painful as well. He really needs to get a third base up ASAP. He's going to shade up quite a few Adepts, so it looks like he'll save it. But it's quite bruised, and one of the problems when you go into an Adept Phoenix-type play is if the Terran is hitting multiple spots, you can crush one of them, but it's hard to split your army right against 2.
Okay, we have the Marines coming down here, trying to get rid of that Phoenix. He picks up again, and this may be a narrow escape here for Dayshi, as we have that medevac looks like it's going to be headed back over here westbound. But I got to say, that was actually a pretty impressive play. I mean, losing that medevac would have been not huge, but it definitely would have helped hiccup the pressure coming out of Dayshi. So very nice save. Meanwhile, these Oracles now headed over here to the left side of the map. to possibly come in here and maybe get some SCV kills.
Yeah, we'll see what they can get done. You know, there's definitely some potential here. He can tag stuff, kill off a few units, even has a Phoenix. So he can do things like lift up a Widow Mine if that's all that's blocking the mineral line from harassment as well.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Ooh, yeah,
This
indeed.
is getting so risky. It looks like the medevac does end up going down. I cannot believe these two oracles are just gliding right in between two Widow Mines.
Yeah. That was dangerous. If those connect, he starts to get really far behind in this game. But you know what? Things are working out for him. He's getting a pretty decent Air Force here.
Thing is that because he's missed the Widow Mines, well, he gets this one over here, but the other one over there, he may assume because he's been pretty liberal about moving through this entire area that, okay, now he spots the second one. I was going to say, he might end up actually running into that Widow Mine later on when that air army is actually quite bunched up, and that could turn this game upside down.
Well, he definitely needs to save it for the time being. Needs those air units to pair up with his glaved up adepts, especially when this push comes out. You know, Widow Mines are really a fantastic counter against all these units, but if you have the detection, you have the Phoenixes to pick them up, you can absolutely deal with this composition.
I'm not entirely sure if the Protoss economy has kicked in enough to easily handle this many Marines and Marauders pushing out right now, especially with a tank over here like this. Let's see. There are some Adepts out here. Obviously, the Oracles and the Phoenixes can be used, but you have to be careful because if you don't get the right setup or don't get the right engage, I guess I could say, then this can all be shot down immediately by those Marines.
You're very right about that, but if he gets into position, and I think that this seems like kind of a good idea even though he's tagged, if he gets into position, that Nexus already took a lot of damage earlier from the drop, and that could be hard for him to stop it from dying.
Widow Mines now planting. Looks like we're going to have a tank go up in siege mode. These Adepts may be coming in. They may be coming right on top of this tank.
Oh my god, that's a great shade, and flies in, picks up the Widow Mines as well. Doing a great job is PiLiPiLi erasing this army of Dayshis.
Meanwhile, a drop down here in the bottom right, but the Mothership corresponds with those pylon cannons driving that out as PiLiPiLi has snubbed both attacks from either side of his bases.
Dude, this is some great play.
Yeah.
I have to say, I have to hand it to him. He is dealing with absolutely everything. And you know, that the beginning was a little bit of a rough ride. He didn't get the damage he was looking for. His expansion, therefore, was late. But he has recovered beautifully here with some great control.
We have that medevac looping around now. Another drop inbound here. However, this sheer number of Adepts could be hugely problematic. PiLiPiLi spots the medevac over here, and this will be taken out without anything being dropped. I don't know. I think Dayshi may, in fact, be just not sufficient back at home to defend this. I mean, I don't see much of anything. I see empty bunkers. And I see an army moving down here, but this many Adepts, this is pretty scary, Artosis.
Oh, it certainly is. That is a lot of Adepts. In fact, he is just going to push right into this third base, forcing that liftoff. Now, this is a great move, though, by Dayshi. He has units all over the place, and if he can take out that base, maybe he can stabilize.
We see a warp in here. He has not gunned down that pylon. Meanwhile, these Adepts over here doing a lot of damage. Keep in mind, there's some Widow Mines just barely in range. He has not activated all of them. He may try to rotate around and hit these SCVs that are over at the third base.
All right, Shades right out of there, dealing with this pretty well. Trying to keep alive his third base. A lot of the probes have fallen, but the Phoenixes will finally help to clean up most of this. Still, though, a Widow Mine left over there.
Kind of a funny trade there. It was 14 probes killed to 17 SCVs killed. Wow, and it looks like he's going to continue to hit these workers. However, there may be enough Marauders and Marines with the medevacs here, especially with the Widow Mines, to drive back these Adept. We've seen this unit composition used a lot in StarCraft II, Phoenix, Adept, and it's very strong, but if you let Terran last too long, they do seem to have the sophistication to engage an army like that.
Well, Widow Mines in large numbers and then Marauders as well mixed in can do fantastically, but PiLiPiLi is doing great shades here, getting on top of pieces of Dayshi's army.
This was a pretty bold shade, and now these Adepts are getting shot at every imaginable angle. It looks like they may try to shade over here to get these SCVs down here at the third. This game an all-out bloodbath.
Yeah, forcing the units to fall down here. He warps into the main base, has the Phoenixes here to help out as well, picking up a lot of these Marauders and hitting the medevacs all at once. PiLiPiLi is everywhere.
PiLiPiLi is hitting hard right now. It's 49 workers for Protoss, 25 for the Terran. However, it seems like, it just seems like there are so many Adepts coming in at different angles, especially with the Phoenixes comboed in here. They got a lot of room to make a lot of lift-ups. I don't know that he can continue to combat this many Adepts.
No, it doesn't look like it, especially with the Phoenixes having this much energy. The Marines being slaughtered so quickly, the Marauders being picked up so they can't even add their damage, and that's it.
Wow. Nicely done. That was a pretty crazy game, Artie.
Yeah, that was very well done by PiLiPiLi. Definitely got to hand it to him because Dayshi did such a great job of finding his early probe. I was a little bit nervous that he wouldn't be able to get himself into a strong spot, but that was some great defense against some of these drops and some great aggression as well.
I'm curious to see how game number 2 will go here because our Terran player actually did a pretty good job harassing the Protoss. It's just that the sheer number of adepts that you have there with the Phoenixes, it's not just that they complement each other in fights, it's the fact that you can get into such a good position with adepts and Phoenixes. If you can imagine it, you can pretty much get that setup that you want, and then when you actually have that, Terran has to have basically preempted whatever moves you were trying to make, and that's really tough.
Yeah, it certainly is. And the amount of times that he dodged Widow Mines with his flying units and just kept tagging that army over and over, knew where it was, knew how to shade on top of it. Just great control there overall and awareness of where all the units were by PiLiPiLi.
Let's go ahead and go over to the analysis desk before we start our game number 2. How you doing, Claris?
Not too bad, thank you, boys, as we do obviously have that 1-0 currently ongoing here in this series. Todd, Pig, what did you make of that game?
I like what PiLiPiLi did here. He used his previous games earlier against Geothermal, and he basically perfected the build, did it a little bit better, didn't cut as many corners, defended better against everything.
Yeah.
And even though it was a very chaotic game that was back and forth, I do like the way he played it overall. Whereas Dayshi, I mean, it just didn't go his way from the start, like these attacks across the map, especially the first big attack at the top right was a big problem because he got kind of crushed super easily, and then from there, usually it's very hard to recover. Even though he was kind of ahead in supply, doing okay upgrades-wise, it feels like he wasn't ready for the attack that is obvious he's going to come from the Protoss, which I don't understand. Like, you should get turrets, right, against Phoenixes plus observers detecting Widow Mines, but it did too much damage, and then the Warpism warping in the main sealed the deal from PiLiPiLi.
Yeah, I got to take my hat off to Pili. He was really good at picking up the Widow Mines when the push was coming across. There's always this dicey moment where Terran wants to put pressure on. He'd love to force the Phoenix and the Adepts to engage into that ball of Marines, and they get like 6 or 7 Widow Mines with them. But he lost about 3 or 4 Widow Mines coming across the map. Pili warped in heaps of Adepts. He had the army tagged. He took a great engagement. And I feel that was the point where he really gained that momentum. And I talked about it before the series. That's what Pili wants to do. He wants the Terran to overextend into him, pounce on that army. And if the Terran gives him that opportunity, he's going to run away with the game really fast. Dayshi's job here is to slow the game down just a little bit more, play a little bit more precisely. And I think he can play it into the later mid-game much more comfortably.
Well, of course, we do have another series going on at the moment. It's going to be a Laser versus Sortov, with the Laser currently 1 game up, right?
Yep, he won the game on Belcher. I mean, he was up 20 supply after all, Todd, and he did capitalize on that as he killed the fort. Belcher was a fantastic game, though. Both players were maxed out. Exactly the same amount of drones, 57. Turned into a crazy Roach Ravager, burrowed Roach harass on both sides at the same time. Incredibly action-packed game. Very, very fun to watch. But a couple of fungals and just great corrosive ball control by Elazer sealed the deal. Game number 2 is on the way on Newkirk City Precinct, but so far not too much has happened. But it seems like Elazer wants to be very aggressive. However, I think it's time for us to continue. Good old Pili versus Dayshi, game 2, but obviously I'll keep a close eye on this, EVZ.
Great observing, though, once again, really good job.
I've heard it was not that good. Like, Funka said he's not taking notes, so... No. I'm pretending I'm not hurt, but if you guys wonder why Roddy's eyes so red, he cried, okay?
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time now to go back into PiLiPiLi versus Dayshi to see who advances on to the all-important qualifying match.
All right, sick. Let's do this, man. Game number 2. PiLiPiLi with some very impressive Phoenix Adept control there. I think we're going to have our Terran player last a little bit longer, just like they were saying over the analysis desk, if Terran's going to win. Because Phoenix Adept, especially when you get that key amount before Terran has actually got a very big and very complex army, it's really tough for Terran to fight.
Yeah, the mid-game, you definitely can be a little bit weak. You need the Widow Mines to go off. And as Pig was saying, you lose too many on the way across, and it's going to be a tough engagement.
In the bottom right, in the red, he is Dayshi. Our Skywalker Terran. In the upper left, in the blue, he is PiLiPiLi. depths and the phoenixes blow through you.
Oh my.
What Star? It was one of the older Star Wars movies. The one where like I think it's Empire Strikes Back, but they're trying to sneak onto the Death Star.
Yeah.
If you actually go back and watch the old Star Wars movies, you'll realize that Darth Vader was pretty much the most efficient guy I've ever seen. There's a part where like they're trying to sneak onto the Death Star, and they have like some like old code they're gonna get on. Suddenly Darth Vader's there talking to the guy who's gonna let the ship on. He's like, "Whose ship is that?"
Yeah.
He's like, it's an older code, sir, but it checks out. He's like, "Let them on." I'm like, damn, Darth, you are just everywhere,
No,
man.
he was on top of
This
things.
guy is a workaholic.
Yeah, that was the original Star Wars movie because they did blow up the Death Star there. So definitely.
Oh, it's the first one. I'm sorry,
Yes.
not Empire Strikes Back.
Need to point that out.
Tasteless just lost a lot of nerd
Jeez.
cred getting that one wrong. Oh boy. All right.
Like, which Star Trek movie was that?
But you know, with PiLiPiLi here, man, if that ship tried to get into his base, those Phoenixes would have just shot it out of the sky before they even asked any questions.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Doesn't matter if you have a lightsaber when
No.
the depths start striking.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. All right. So we have a pretty modest expand here coming out of Dayshi. I don't know if PiLiPiLi is going to go for Adept Phoenix, but pretty much everywhere in the world this is considered a solid way to approach the game.
Yeah.
It doesn't always parlay into a very healthy and very robust late game, but that's kind of not the point of the build. It's allowing you to get a very key amount of control where you can really bully the Terran, hop anywhere, go anywhere, and pick your fights accordingly.
Well, you know, I think that especially here on Abyssal Reef, he either has to do an all-in or probably we'll see Adept Phoenix again. He's very good at Adept Phoenix overall, and this map can be really hard. If you don't seize control, like if you don't have something that can crush that first really big Terran push, there's a lot of places for Liberators and Siege Tanks to make your life a living hell as a Protoss player. So I'm kind of expecting that same type of play, and with a Robo coming right up, I wonder what this could be.
Well, I don't believe the Robo makes Phoenixes, so I don't think we're going to have that same unit comp coming up just yet. Well, you know, we got to respect PiLiPiLi here. He wants to mix up, you know, how he's going to be engaging in tech in each game, and that makes it a lot harder for Dayshi to pick up on where this game's going.
Totally, it is. So 2 more gates on the way. Could just be like a quick prism, get some harassment going. No, 3 gates.
3
okay,
gates,
so
Ro4.
4-gate prism. This is like a very old build as far as I can see the Void goes.
Shoots right out of the top of your computer, guys.
Oh
right
my
out the top of
gosh.
the monitor.
Yeah, make sure it's not under your desk.
Yeah.
Open your window. But this is going to be hyper aggressive coming out of PiLiPiLi. Like, we should see Stalkers, we should see Adepts, and there has to be some fantastic micro coming out of Dayshi, who, by the way, getting a couple Cyclones.
Well, this is pretty smart. The Cyclone is obviously quite mobile and quite able to deal with harass from a lot of different angles. So I think he's made the right choices. I guess the question is going to be, where does he position those Cyclones? Because we do see them actually moving out here.
Yeah, it looks like a Marine Cyclone push to start. And this is like very powerful, but with 4 gateways up, this is definitely something that PiLiPiLi can fight against.
Yeah, the build was initially set up so that you could do some really powerful harass, but you'll still have the units that you can make back home. Now, and in kind of an odd setup that we have now, this War Prism is going around this Terran army, and okay, he's got a pylon there. So he sees it and immediately activating the pylon cannon. That will cause Dayshi to rotate around over here to the second base, but we don't know how much Dayshi has at home to try to defend.
Oh my God, the probes having to be pulled immediately here. The Mothership Core coming down. A couple Stalkers trying to help out, picking off as much as they can here for Dayshi.
He needs to get that medevac. That medevac is getting low, and it does go down. He should be able to take cover in safety by the pylon. Just warping in a few more. Meanwhile, the Adepts are here doing a lot of damage to these SCVs.
Okay, the Adepts are killing off a few, but the amount of probes that died defending this initial push is quite high indeed. In fact, trying to get another one there. And I would say that this kind of turned out all right for Dayshi overall. I thought for a moment, especially when he moved his Cyclones too close, you know, if those Cyclones come at the same time as the medevac, you can kill that pylon and just push in.
Right.
But I felt like that was a mistake, but still, here he is, the couple siege tanks looking fine.
Well, I think the real story back there when PiLiPiLi was defending was how many probes he had to lose to hold that.
Yeah.
Because when it was all said and done, I think he lost something like 16 workers, which is just huge. Now, the Warp Prism is still in the game. There was a Viking. I don't know where it is exactly now, but there was a Viking. There it is. There was a Viking out around the map, so he's going to have to be careful. This is a bruised Warp Prism. As you can see, it already took a little bit of a beating. If he's going to try to come in here, I don't even know if this is advisable, actually.
Yeah, this
I think
shouldn't
it's
do
kind
very
of crazy.
much. Like, maybe he'll pick off an SCV or two, but with double siege tank, a turret, and everything, Dayshi has really sewn up his base tight here.
Yeah. Got to be careful with that splash damage on some of those adepts because those SCVs are bunching up pretty heavily over there. Yeah, so it seems like PiLiPiLi's days with the Warp Prism are pretty much numbered. He's probably going to have to go back, macro up, try to develop a more complex tech, and take the game from there.
Well, he's going for DTs, Immortals, and Blink, so that's definitely a more complex army, no doubt about it. But with a third command center finishing up for Dayshi, it's going to be hard to find him without a scan available.
Yeah, that's a very good point. DTs are going to be something that Terran has to respect before they can actually move out on the map. We'll see if he will be able to deal with that coming up here. By the way, this Warp Prism still out here, and it's actually just in really close proximity.
Yeah.
To the Terran's base. I guess it's fine if it... Oh, hold on. I was going to say, I guess it's fine if it doesn't get spotted, but peekaboo, nerd.
Yeah, a couple DTs popping out. He actually doesn't even
The Liberator
see
had tunnel vision.
Oh, my.
Oh, my.
Well,
all right,
definitely could go wrong.
Yeah.
Couple of depths shading into the natural right now, taking some of that siege splash, and 3 SCVs do end up falling. Double DT drop coming up.
Okay, so it's very important he has the DTs spread out in different locations, so the Terran has to use way more scans than is comfortable for them in order to wipe them all out. There's only one more DT remaining as the Warp Prism's taken out. It's over here at the third base, although I think he might have to pull out pretty quickly. Yeah, unfortunately he does not do that in time. You almost want to like preempt the scan and try to see if you can't get away off an edge, although it's much easier said than done.
It looks like he was really focusing on doing something else, maybe macroing up back home, because that DT was just like right-clicked and he left it there, lost the prism as well. So the DTs haven't done like a whole lot. They definitely did distract a bit, and I mean that's a nice tech to have as Protoss overall, but will his army be big enough when Dayshi moves out? Normally when you go for DTs and they don't do a lot of damage, the answer is no.
Well, also there's 2 forges upgrading over here.
Yeah.
Obviously upgrades are great, but you know, you went for DTs, you got 2 forges. You might, even if your army does get the 1/1 upgrades, you might not have a lot of your army there.
Yeah.
One of the things that makes Protoss so scary when you do get further along in the game is not just that you have all these different units that can synergize with each other, but it's that it's a lot easier for the Protoss to micro away the important units and save them, like with a Warp Prism, getting these force fields set up. You can really keep those core important units back and safe. So this next push here by Dayshi could become problematic. That's a very intimidating Terran army.
Well, it is indeed. A couple siege tanks mixed in there are going to be fantastic. Now, there's a decent amount of force fields as well as Immortals. That can be helpful.
Could he get these tanks locked down?
Oh my God.
That was so good. Now, PiLiPiLi's going to have to skirt up north right here to try to meet this army from the Terran over here in the center. Good scans, takes out 2 observers, and is now going to set up. Man, if those additional tanks have been here,
Like, how do you engage this with 4 mines, a Liberator, 2 siege tanks? But without the siege tanks, it is so much harder right now for Dayshi to push. He has to be kicking himself.
Oh, good call. Oh, that was so close.
Oh my God, such smart moves from PiLiPiLi, even blinking back, getting in the way of those medevacs so they can't go towards his main base. I think that Dayshi was moving his army really well, but PiLiPiLi is on top of everything.
Dayshi with some very intimidating engages. However, PiLiPiLi always seems to have an answer. Supplies right now, 124 to 164. Terran is getting to the size where it is absolutely terrifying. PiLiPiLi is going to have to be on the defense for the foreseeable future until he can catch up.
Oh man, this is some great defense by PiLiPiLi right now. Dayshi continuing to try to push in. He still has that army supply advantage, but some great positioning here, some very patient defense it feels like here from PiLiPiLi, who's already getting 2-2.
There's a good number of Immortals that are out here. This Terran army that was there is just not sufficient. And I got to say, Dayshi has been pretty much successfully shut down. PiLiPiLi I think, knew exactly when to engage that army when it was being pushed up earlier, and then knew right when it was time to stay back.
Yeah.
And dude, now we got 2-2 on the way.
Yeah, he's got Blink, he's got Blades, he's got like what, 5 Immortals?
Yeah.
That's a 5 Immortals. That is so scary for the Terran player. I think that at this point, Dayshi has to sit back a little bit. He needs to get some actual tech out here.
Oh
Maybe
my
a lot
God.
of leverage.
Oh, that's so
jeez.
bad. Not even trading damage. He might as well have put a bow on that those 2 medevacs there. And hold up, we have another attack coming up right here. The Immortals dishing out a lot of damage. The Marauders rotate over to the side to face off against the Adepts and the Stalkers. But are there just too many Protoss units? It seems like it doesn't matter. Medevacs now being gunned down as the rest of the brittle Terran army is picked off.
Oh man, those Immortals worth their weight in gold. Some great blinks as well. PiLiPiLi with a very offensive posturing right now. Can he actually break him, or will he overextend though? Liberators on ramps are going to be very tough to break no matter how much supply you
now,
have.
keep in mind, Immortals are pretty clunky, so you got to be careful. I mean, these guys are both much lower on supply. It's 115 to 127, but you need a lot of meat with that, with those Immortals, like a lot of Stalkers, a lot of Adepts. Ideally some sentries so you can really set up a good position, because otherwise it's not going to be enough. We see the Liberator at half health, but immediately he goes back in order to stay safe.
All right, with those Liberators, I think that PiLiPiLi might need to slow it down a bit. He continues to make units, continues to posture outside of Dayshi's base. And yeah, hey, he has a 2-upgrade lead, which is fantastic. It's just, with Liberators plus Mines, it's very hard to engage.
The Liberators are now setting up. It seems like Dayshi is comfortable to try to engage here, and gunning down these Immortals is really unforgivable here by PiLiPiLi. That was the core of what he, look out! That was the core of what he had to have in order to engage this.
Look, I think he just went from having a strong lead to actually being behind after that. So this could be tough, but he blinks forward, he stays aggressive, going after these Liberators, but the Marauders making quick work of the Stalkers.
He's still getting good force field set up. I don't know if the Terran actually has enough. We'll have to get some more reinforcements here from PiLiPiLi if he wants to engage any further. Does he have an observer with his army? I actually don't
see one in there.
Unless we're missing something.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. Sorry,
it's
guys.
with the Terran army, not the Protoss army.
But of course he scans and immediately guns that down as well. There is still now 2 Widow Mines that are going to go ahead and burrow. But I have to say, I feel like PiLiPiLi may have overextended here, possibly throwing away the advantage that he had worked so hard to get.
Yeah, now he's in a lot of trouble. He's got this single Immortal kind of duck-stepping around, not able to do anything. And in fact, Dayshi going to push forward and wipe out the rest of his army. You know, this is really sad for PiLiPiLi. He had an upgrade advantage. He had so many advantages here in this game. It's just he stayed a little bit too long. When the Terran pulls back and has all those Liberators, that's a good counter to a heavy Immortal army.
You know, I thought PiLiPiLi was doing such a good job the way he was picking off those drops, but there's a point in time where we saw PiLiPiLi down there, and I think it was 4 Immortals. He's got 4 Immortals there. He had, like, I think 6 Stalkers or something, and I thought, you know, this is a little bit risky to be this far out. Immortals, if they get hit at the right angle, and I don't even think there was a Warp Prism with it initially.
Yeah, it was a little bit further back. It eventually did come up. But
that's one of those moments where you got to hit them and then pull back immediately and get that key army. You can always try to engage the Terran when they're trying to take their 4th base. I mean, keep in mind, too, PiLiPiLi had these incredible upgrades. He just keeps that going for a little while.
Yeah.
He's not going to be stoppable.
Yeah, it's definitely like... the thing about PiLiPiLi, I think, is that his greatest strength is also his greatest weakness. He's very good at being aggressive, pushing advantages, but sometimes he stays too long, and that's exactly what went down there.
Let's go check out what's happening at the analysis desk with Kalaris.
Thank you very much, guys. Of course, we have had our other series in the lower bracket actually conclude, and Rotterdam was covering that, and it seems like Alazer did pretty well there.
He absolutely did. I actually have the replay in front of me as the game has already ended. Game 2 was not as spectacular as Game 1. I really think that Game 1 is worth watching. You know, download the replays after they have been posted. But let's go ahead to my laptop real quick, and I can show you guys the most deciding and most important moment of game number 2 on Newkirk City Precinct. I can unpause the game and maybe we can go for it. If you look at it, these numbers, sort of is actually doing really well here. He's up 8 workers, he's down a tiny bit in army supply. He just defended a massive attack, but for some reason he ran to the other side of the map. And Elazer is like, well, cool, you know, I've got no tech. You have Leia already on the way. I guess this is my moment to perhaps counter it. I can go for it. So I'll fast forward this real quick. And we had a very close and long battle here with just some excellent Ravager control by Elazer. This went on forever, but this was really cool. Reinforcements obviously kept popping for Sword Off, and it looked like he was going to be able to defend. I thought he might be able to do it, but in the end he just lost a few too many units. Good corrosive bows, zoning out these roaches as well. And look at the ending. I was like, kill the hatch! Kill the hatch! Elazer's like, I could do that, but I can also kill the X and the hatch. And I was like, wow, you're so good. And from this point on, Elazer just created an advantage for himself, and he never really gave it away. So congratulations. Very strong performance, though. This is not an easy win for Elazer. Obviously, a lot of pressure. You know, all the Polish fans, they want to see him at Spodek. So to take out Sword Off 2-0 in a series like this, I'm pretty impressed.
Last time, actually, we were in Katowice. When there was WCS, he had a very strong showing already, remember? And that was when we first played in the studios that like he started showing very good things.
He beat Hydra, you remember?
Yes.
That was also the beginning of Pig and his love for roaches.
That always was the case. Yeah.
That was 2015, right? Because I was there, so...
Yeah, he won the upper bracket match, and then he lost the decider match, I believe, against Hydra. So Hydra in the end did advance to top 8. But yeah, you're right, that was indeed the beginning of Elazer.
Good times, good times. But of course, looking at that game number 2 there overall, what did you make of PiLiPiLi versus Dayshi in that one? Bit kind of indecision there from Dayshi in some of those fights, actually going forwards, losing some of those units, etc.
Yeah, these games are weird because it feels like both players are making a ton of mistakes, but at the same time, they're just like having fantastic macro and like a lot of good attacks and some good micro as well. So it's weird. It's just like fight-wise, neither player seems to be extremely decisive, and Dayshi here, he had some weird moves where like he picked up with Medivacs and like he looked like whoever was flying that thing was drunk and like it was just a bit weird, but in general he stayed solid enough throughout the game to eventually come back.
Well, guys, I'm going to have to cut you short, unfortunately, because we are ready for game number 3 here. Sorry about that, boy. But anyway, for now, we are going to head into game number 3 to find out who is advancing on to that qualifying match for the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice.
It's time to start game number 3. These guys very evenly matched. I really agree with what Todd was saying back there, that they both have really good control. They're macroing really well, but it seems like a lot of mistakes are being made, so it's kind of a down and dirty fight.
Yeah, that definitely is true. We've seen some overextensions on both sides. See who can clean it up best, though, in game number 3.
In the bottom right, in the red, he is Dayshi. Not Dayshi. In the upper left, in the blue, he is PiLiPiLi. All right, guys, do tell your friends to join us here at the Intel Extreme Masters. Artosis, can I just say that these Masters are oh so very extreme.
They are so extreme with a capital X.
The power of branding.
Oh my.
Guys, this has been a really cool best of 3, and I think the third game is going to be just as special. It's been so back and forth, it's really hard to predict. Some of these, in some cases, one of these guys has a big lead, but he's not able to maintain it. Things slip between the cracks in his fingers. That's not how you say it. How do you say slip between his fingertips. There we go.
Like sand in the hourglass, so are the hours of our lives tasteless.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Famous quotes.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are going to see who's going to move on. I do like that we have an evenly matched game at this phase of the tournament.
Yeah,
I think
very nice.
Either of these guys moving on, we can be excited about.
Yeah, well, they play against Elazer, right? So that's pretty fun. PiLiPiLi has already shown some great PvZs tonight, and you know, Elazer's weak matchup really kind of is against Terran, so that is one where Dayshi, who's in good shape, good form at the moment, could take him down.
For the time being, I think we're going to have to wait until the mid-game. A lot of these games, if you look at it, is really where does the Terran send the Medivacs, and are they safe?
Yeah.
And also, what is the Protoss doing with the Warp Prism, and is he really able to utilize, you know, the units that he has in there, or is he throwing some units away? Kind of like we saw with the DT drop in game number 2. Like, the idea is good, but I don't really think those DTs paid for themselves.
No, I would tend to agree with you there. Like, they give you some other things as well, but he's still fought back into a very strong position. Like, even if some of these early aggression-ish type things PiLiPiLi is doing don't work out, he knows how to get himself into a good spot, which is nice to see. It's just, I guess the question is, will he overcommit at some point during that game? But look, this is a very different map from what we've been seeing. Belcher Vestige. There's a lot of area where Terran can end up dropping you and a lot of different routes that they can walk down to attack. So the fact that he's going Stargate, I don't find this very surprising at all. I think we're going to see Phoenix Adept again.
Yeah, that would not shock me either, Artosis. I think Phoenix Adept went so well for PiLiPiLi. Why would you not try it again? And one of the things about Phoenix Adept is it's not so much a unit comp where if you know it's coming, you can stop it. Sometimes people are just very good.
That's true.
It's kind of crazy with the amount of time Legacy of the Void's been out. There are some people that are so sick when it comes to moving the Adepts around. It's very hard to catch them. And even if they don't shade forward, they can force you back in such a way that then they cancel that. They've locked you out of your ramp, for instance. There's so many cool tricks you can do with Mass Adepts. And once the Phoenixes are there, if you pick your fights accordingly, not just about chopping up the army, but what are you actually taking out? In some cases, they'll remove all the Marines so that there's just nothing left to try to protect those Marauders. They'll start to chase out the Medevacs. Other times, they'll pick up just the Marauders because the Adepts are going to kill the Marines.
There's a lot of decision-making to be made for the Protoss player there.
Yeah,
and there's a huge skill ceiling, which is why I think it's as you say. You know, it's hard to predict exactly how that'll go, and definitely it can be strong in the right hands.
Oh my God, he's going to get in here.
Ooh,
Fuel goes down now in SCV. The Cyclones are still headed northbound.
Yeah.
And wait, where are those SCVs above his expansion? Okay,
well,
he's
just running anywhere he can right now, because I think what we're seeing is this double Cyclone plus Medevac build, and I believe that this is actually made to counter Stargate openings. So he's found the Stargate opening, he's letting a lot of SCVs die, but he is planning on getting a ton of damage done.
He may have to pull some probes here. Looks like he wants to try to exhaust out the remaining energy there on that pylon cannon, but this is a pretty big blow here for Dayshi. That was 13 SCVs. We're like not even 5 minutes into this game and you've lost that many SCVs. It's really hard to turn this around.
When he didn't turn around, I was like, okay, he must know something here where he can get damage, but the fact that he got literally 0 damage done and didn't turn around to deal with an Oracle that ended up getting 13 kills, that doesn't bode well for Dayshi. I'm surprised he didn't turn around then.
And also, I think Dayshi is going to be very tempted to try to do a bust here at the entrance of the second. Do we have a bunker or anything like that over at the Terran second base?
He's making one now.
Okay, he's making one. He's got one siege tank.
Yeah, he's got a couple Cyclones. Like, these are good quality units
actually,
that he has.
You know what? I really feel like PiLiPiLi has been adapting. Look at this. He's making a third base now. He's not going to try to just close the game out, because I think that those are the bumps in the road both these players have been having in this series. Is they get a lead and they don't capitalize on it properly. Sometimes it's better to just play a more conservative game and try to continue to grow and get bigger in your respective race, versus trying to find an opening, do a timing, and try to end it, because if that doesn't work now, you're behind.
Yeah, it's very, very true. If you lose an attack that you're trying to kill your opponent with, then you are almost always going to be the one losing that game. So it's nice to see him back up, take this third base, going for Glaives and +1 as kind of expected. Just kind of doing some scouting with that Oracle as well, but Dayshi can't be feeling very good about this game right now, having lost so many SCVs and done literally no damage so far.
Yeah, it seemed a bit like Dayshi was panicked there, because if that was made to target a Stargate build, I don't know what the idea behind that would be.
I mean, that was my guess going into it. I've never actually seen the double Cyclone Medevac push off the bat.
I'm not really familiar with this either, but
yeah, I mean, when when the Oracle came in and he just went for it, it's like, okay, well, let's see, but yeah, I don't know, man. This is Daishi's going to have to bring out his absolute A game to win this one.
Now, let's keep in mind, guys, Protoss already has an operational third base. Terran is still sitting on 2 bases, and the 6 gateways for Protoss are finishing right now. So the gateway explosion is done. That's really when you can identify a player as having the economy now kicking in for that additional expansion, is when you have the extra minerals for those gates, and that's when the production rate for Protoss can get scary. 2 base versus 3 base is very problematic for a Terran player, and the longer he stays on 2 base, as a Terran player, the bigger the Protoss is going to be in the long run. And I think PiLiPiLi's handling this perfectly. Keep tagging that army. Keep tabs on the Terran. It forces the Terran to be honest, because really, the easiest way to take out a Protoss who's ahead of you on 3 bases is to hit in a whole bunch of different locations and try to trip up the Protoss. But if you're tagging the army, there's really no way that Protoss can get surprised by what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and you can't really split off something like a single medevac right now. If the Phoenixes find it, you're just getting further and further behind. So this is some great, like, kind of light containment out of PiLiPiLi, who's, you know, getting a few upgrades, a cannon here and there, just kind of tightening up everything at home to make sure that Dayshi can't get something like a lucky Widowmine drop-off.
Yeah, unfortunately with this rally point, the continuous tags are occurring. The Phoenix numbers grow and grow and grow here, which means essentially Terran actually has to push because, like we were saying, harassing isn't an option. And he can't even push that easily because he's going to be uncomfortable. I mean, he could be hit from any angle here. And it looks like he wants to meet him with these adepts right here above the ramp. Going to come in here for a quick peek. This should force a cancel, and that's what he wanted him to do. You just saw that. The liberation zones are set up. That's when you back up. Make the Terran work to push towards your 3rd base.
That's right. He's going to do that again. He has to come up here, siege up those liberators, maybe the siege tank, burrow a few of these Widow Mines, but this push is very slow, and that's giving more and more time to PiLiPiLi to get the army he needs to break it.
You know, we've seen people do this to Terrans to try to force them with siege tanks, for instance, to set up, and then they run away. But it's even worse for Terran when they have liberators, a siege tank, Widow Mines, all these things they have to set up because otherwise they can't be utilized. So it really nicely done. And this may be the moment that PiLiPiLi decides to go in. Where will the liberation zones be set up? Will the Adepts, in fact, shade in? They do!
Oh, God, a lot of those Widow Mines going off, though. Definitely dealing some damage there. But the Phoenixes flying in are going to help out so much. Going to the back as well, picking up the reinforcements, and it looks like he is going to crush this army of Dayshi.
That should be the game-deciding move here.
Yeah.
I really cannot imagine a Terran able to acquire a 3rd base after losing that. And that really sucked all the oxygen out of any plans Dayshi had this game.
Yeah, this was just a great hold by PiLiPiLi. Of course, he had that early advantage anyways after the Oracle killed 13 SCVs, but Dayshi cannot be happy with his performance here. I think he's going to be very disappointed.
The Adepts are going to come forward here. It looks like, oh, good micro there. Having just one of those Adepts soak that damage, there is a second Widow Mine over there. Now, look, I don't think that PiLiPiLi really needs to try to go for a kill here. I think he could just stay back. I think Terran is going to get in deeper and deeper trouble here.
Yeah, he's just kind of sitting back, defending as best he can. Huge warp in here with that Prism, shading on top of everything as well. Even great Widow Mine hits might not be enough.
The Adepts have now shaded in. So many over here as these Phoenixes wipe out any presence of Widow Mines. I believe this should be the killing blow. GG.
Wow, great play here by PiLiPiLi throughout this series. And he takes down Dayshi 2-1. A couple big victories so far today for the young American Protoss, but
let me tell you something. He is no Padawan or Tosis.
No, certainly not. Is he going to be strong enough, though, to take out a laser and get to that group stage?
I don't know.
That's a tough one.
What I do know is he PiLiPiLi'd Dayshi like he was a banana.
Yes.
Yeah. I write my own jokes, guys.
His SCVs.
Okay, let's go to the analysis. Or no, excuse me. We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, an interview with PiLiPiLi.